Welcome back. Let's have our second talk. We have Sasha and Paula from JustWatch. I forgot the title of the Operational AI in Business Intelligence. So I leave the stage to you.
Thank you very much. Few seconds more. Wait once. All there? Good. Let's start. So today, that works. So me and Paula are going to talk about operational AI in business intelligence. So before we start I would like to thank you all for coming. So we are very happy to see you here. I want to give a shout out to our office manager. She's somewhere around for helping out, organizing all this stuff. It's very great use of this arena. So, I mean, mostly we use it for movie streaming and video games sometimes, like internal team events, but this is like really very nice opportunity to use it. All right. So a few words about JustWatch and what it is. So JustWatch is, as you can read, it's a streaming guide. So it helps people to find the content they want to watch, and maybe they don't know yet they want to watch, and they want to see why they want to watch it. It's an international application that is available in more than 140 countries, where you can see all the available offers. Let's say you want to see a movie, but you don't know where it's available on your subscriptions, you can find it there. So we're not really a streaming service, though that's about to change. If you stay tuned, we are entering the game of streaming, so it's not yet available in the European Union, but eventually going to be next year. Stay tuned. And for the B2B side of the business, we are helping streaming services and movie studios to promote their content, running and strategizing digital media marketing campaigns. Right, so what's we going to talk about today? Well, I could cover the agenda the usual way, but given the nature of the topic we are going to talk about today, let's try not to anger the Skynet, and I want to change the style of the presentation to be a bit more robotic as a terminal output. Look, that's going to be our style for today. I mean, it's also a lazy way because basically I also use the AI basically to make all those presentations. This is text, so it's not a picture, it's a text. And you will see the text because, again, actually unreal, like row by row. Okay, intro. I will also then explain how we get here and why we're actually doing this. There will be a lot of demos today, and at the end, actually going to tell the secret sauce, why and how this actually working, what you need to do actually for this to work. So stay tuned till the end. All right. First of all, our journey. And this is actually going to be nicely connected to Lidash. But it's like a recap for the TV show, but it's not going to be from the season 1, it's going to be from season 5. I'm not going to talk about how we build all the pipelines and I know the qualities and stuff. But like a year ago, we had the presentation in this very arena, also for Berlin Data Meetup, and I was presenting about our progress and success of the Lidash integration. So long story short, we solved our use case for self-service at scale. And next step after that was basically, okay, cool, what now? And then the question was, let's go to next level, and basically AI was already like ramping across the world, and it was logical to say, okay, now let's use the AI. We want not to just get the semantics and self-service. When you click around, you want to ask the questions. So we were exploring the area, and we were super happy to realize Lidash was also building this stuff, and we became one of the first adopters of this particular application that Hamza, where is he, talked about a lot. All right, that was kind of mid last year. Few months ago, just a few months ago in August, our company got a cloud license from Anthropic. Till that moment, I was basically exploring and kind of watching the area, what's happening with the business intelligence and data in AI. There was not really much breakthrough. There were like some data charts, but we got covered with Lidash, and there was some basic analytics on the spreadsheets mostly, but not really much happening with how you operate stuff. So once we had a license for the cloud, I decided, okay, let's basically explore. I went guns blazing and basically experimenting and brainstorming a lot. And we tried to find out all the opportunities we had, how we can optimize our processes, our life of our stakeholders with the AI help. So what we've done, we built a lot of brainstorming sessions with the team. Everyone on the team, even if it's not super technical, had to come up with some ideas and basically develop some particular application, some particular process, some improvement, doesn't matter what exactly, but also still with AI. So today we're going to show you a lot of examples of those products. Most of them are already almost final in production, but by the end of the year, we can definitely have them as our toolkit basis. Shortly about the format of this presentation. It's going to be a bit of talking at the beginning, at the end, but mostly going to be presentation. So the focus is going to be all hands-on, and like super demos, videos, and screenshots. So you're going to be not theory at all. But important catch up, at the end, there is a really key source how this matrix works. So stay tuned to the end. All right, before we go to the presentations about the different tools, this is basically main areas of all the data teams or the BI teams that are actually doing, right? So you data modeling. In our case, we use a lot of dbt. We have like more than 1,500 models in 25 plus domains. You handle the reporting based on the data modeling, of course. Reporting could be ad hoc, could be dashboarding, could be self-service. Well, we have already self-service sorted out. Then on top of that, we also act as a consultancy for the company, because we, as BI, involved in all the projects that's happening in the company. So basically know, if not the answer, but at least the right person to answer. All right. And last but not least, all that's fun, all that's pretty exciting, but there are also a lot of housekeeping activities you still need to do. So those are 4 main areas, and I guess a lot of you can relate to those. And for all of those, we're going to have some demos. We're going to have several projects covering how we're actually improving with our team, all those particular activities. I'll be mostly covering housekeeping and data modeling, so basically development operations. Paula later going to cover all the stakeholder operations, how we basically expose it to our users. Right. Let's start with the less exciting one, housekeeping. Before we do that, just a few words. The first thing we actually had to develop is the way to connect to our users and to ourselves. JustWatch is a Slack-first company. All our communications, all our decisions, because we're not really like completely in the office, it's still hybrid. So the Slack is very important for all our communications. So all the decisions have to be recorded there. You can find it. Sometimes it's like not super efficient, but at least you can find all the documentation in there. What is references to all decisions, all the threads. That's important that we develop our own Slack bot app that we're using to expose it to our users. Dima, sitting here, was the one to develop that. That's how he named it. Thank you. All right. So for housekeeping, there are 3 activities you can think of. The monitoring, let's say you have an alert, right? So something you need to do. You need to go and investigate that. Maintenance, let's say you develop the models. Sometimes you need to actually care about retiring them. And optimizations, if you go crazy for the consumption of Snowflake, you need to care about that because you're going to just burn your money. So those are like 3 subcategories of housekeeping. And for all of those, we're going to show you some demos right now. So really, no theory slides anymore. Demos are coming. First one. So this one developed by Rossella. She's actually watching this right now from the Zoom, as far as I know. She's not in office. She sits in Italy. So we use dbt, as I said. And at JustWatch, we are super good at building stuff and shipping stuff, because there is always momentum, there is always importance. People are always asking the things. So we're building it. But we're not that great in retiring, because normally you don't really have like an event to kill some particular analytics. Sometimes it just like fades, like there is no usage really. And over years, you can accumulate a lot of models that you don't really actually need, but you still process them. They're still consuming some space, some processing power, and that basically costs you money. Sometimes you actually drop the model, but you don't drop the objects from database, which is also the case. So what we built here, this is like, you can see it November 13th, it's pretty fresh. It was our first launch of the dbt bloat scanner, which identified a lot of problems, as you can see, and you can see how many we can actually kill. The orphan table here is like, you can see, it's the objects you have in the database, but you have in dbt. The thing here, this one is not only connecting to your repository, it's also connecting to the statistics of the processing of the models and the real queries that actually our users hit against them. So we have some models that collect this all together, and the agent is actually analyzing this and posting this back to us. And as it's in the Slack, it's super actionable. So we can right away just go ahead and basically, yeah, Paula killed the stuff, and she's reporting great. Now I don't have 73 tables anymore, orphan ones with just 16. Nice. All right. Next one. the similar fashion, Snowflake analysis. So obviously you don't want to really discover like months later that you're actually blowing up your Snowflake bill. We use Snowflake, as you already have guessed. Here, every week right now, we're running this fully automated analysis of all the different operations we run against the Snowflake. It tells you how much it compares to the previous week, what's the projection, like if there are any models that actually blowing up your bill right now for whatever reason, if there are any anomalies and stuff. And you can also, again, immediately turn it into action. As you can see here, I'm pointing to Dima and Tessa, that there are some models that really spending much. And here you can see that I, myself, was the one responsible for a lot of expensive queries. All right, this one is a video. Let's say, so all those things were kind of proactive. Let's say reactive one. It's pretty typical. You have a lot of alerts, right? Data alerts, whatever happens. Like you have multiple channels, whatever things. What do you usually do? You get an alert. This is an example. One of many. We have like really hundreds of different types. So what do? You jump into that. You do some explorative queries. Maybe by your gut feeling, you tell it, okay, it's not really like important. Let's just let it be and gonna be like result itself. But sometimes it's a real problem, and you need to spend some time to discover this and then basically escalate to the right person. But quite often those queries that you do, they're pretty typical. And in this particular message itself, it's already a lot of information. You already know which particular model failed. You already know why. So why not just basically tell Claude, go ahead and explore what's actually happening and report back to us. And as you can see, it gets very creative in terms of how it visualizes. There is no real clear instructions that you actually have the country icons and stuff, but you have instructions about, okay, this is a model, go and check out what's going on, report back anomalies. And you see here, you can actually go iterate with this. So the agent itself, built by Dmitry, he's here, and the logic of the after discovery built by Maya, so she's hiding up there. All right? And as you also can see, you can iterate, you can engage in conversations directly in Slack, and on each alert, you can basically go investigate. You don't need to spend the time yourself. All right, so that was about housekeeping. Next one is about building stuff. So what's your usual routine about building the models? It's probably something like this. I don't know, that's for me. About 80% of the time you spend like writing code, hopefully good one, right? So, but by this moment, you already know specifications, you already know the structure of all the sources. Then you obviously testing your data, right? And at the end, someone's also helping you code review or your code review. That's how it used to be for me, like for years, till a few weeks ago. Now, myself, it's not like happening yet for the whole team, but I will definitely get them there. I completely changed the way I work. So 60% of the time I'm prompting. I'm not really writing code myself, though I love it. That's why 10% of the time I still query it for fun. And 30% of time, and this is crucial, you really have to review what it's doing for you, and you have to correct it, but ideally like in prompting. This is crucial. So though I spend the same amount of time, the nature of the time spent is different, but the output is in times more. Why? Well, because some of the things you can actually run in parallel. You can run multiple tasks at the same time, and it's only hitting your mental capacity. So like if you're able to catch up, you can work on multiple projects. You have to prepare in advance all the specifications, but basically you can collect few days, some insights, how you prepare for this. And then you have like one evening session for development. You can ship in one evening something you could do before like in weeks. And that's not actually a theory, that actually happened over the last few weeks, almost a month. I had two very big projects I had to run. One was completely from scratch. I'm going to show you how I kicked it off. And one was existing code base. I had to really develop and run in parallel migration for the business critical data set. So this actually helped me. I didn't write a line of code, but I did prompt a lot. Okay, so results, efficiency, like seriously speaking, like I don't spend in the end the same amount of time for development. I spend less, but my efficiency is still 10 times more than before, because basically if you like compare 1 hour to 1 hour, it's 10 times more that I can develop. Right. So that all stuff was about development, which is just half of the things you do at business intelligence. The other half is more tricky sometimes because it involves people. It's stakeholder management and how you actually deal with them. And for that, there is Paula. Please.
Okay, hi. I'm going to cover the reporting part, but first we need to talk about consulting at scale as well. We've built an agent, actually Dimitri built it, that connects to our entire technical infrastructure. It's integrated with our Git code repositories, Airflow and Snowflake, and it contains all our technical documentation because it's basically reading Git. It also interacts with Slack because, as you've noticed already, Slack is our main tool. And yeah, this is how it works. So basically here, Dima is asking a question about permanent audience and custom audience. That's something that is really critical for us in the company. And Claude is going to Git and looking for the answer. And yeah, pretty good there. Finished? Yeah. But also you can do a bit more technical stuff. So in this case, here you can also create a snowflake. Yeah, I think it talks by itself. So yeah, it goes to Airflow, Snowflake, Git again, and retrieves the answer, the definition, and then querying the data. What is the cool thing about this is natural language. So that means that we can, at some point, maybe not the technical part, but the conversational part, we can open these to our internal users. So instead of having a person like, can you please define me what is the permanent audience, what is the custom audience? Because we have like 10 different definitions of audience. Now Cloud can resolve it for us, reading our Git code. Now, semantic layer. I mean, everything that I'm going to talk, Hamza covered it already. The semantic layer is crucial to our infrastructure. We have all our data centralized in Snowflake. Everything starts there. We have data coming from different sources, but all it up ends up in Snowflake. This data flows into the semantic layer, and this is where the magic happens for us. Why the semantic layer is critical. We have all our KPIs definition there, but we not only have the lateral language definition, we also have the technical ones. So for example, I'm supporting the marketing team. I don't know if you know what a video view is, but for example, for TikTok is 2 seconds view, and for YouTube is 30 seconds view. So if you go to our semantic layer, you will see video view. You will see just the definition that I tell you, and also the SQL piece of query that it will define it. Also, something really important for us is the role over security. We have users that can access some client data, others that they cannot. So having everything controlled in the semantic layer there, it's crucial for us. All of this is maintained only by the BI team. For us, it's a single source of truth, and we contain all the business logic there. So the outcome, we are using Lightdash for reporting. All the dashboarding is happening there. This is reading the semantic layer, and also the self-service. I have to say that all the self-service is already covered. We've been using Lightdash for a couple of years, and the ad hoc requests are not that many, are just as specific. So maybe some person is like, I still don't understand how this metric is calculated, but it's so little now. And thanks to all of this, then we are ready for AI. So one of the things that we have built in is dashboard creation. We built an agent. The goal is like, we wanted to create dashboards with just user instructions, no manual work. So how we build this? We download actual dashboards from our users, internal users, to learn how they create dashboards, how they analyze the data, how they use it. We also download millions of charts, and also some of the external dashboards that we have for the clients. Then we started some projects and train it. Also, we had to give some of our best practices. So I imagine that you are prompting, and then you ask for the time series, and then you see a pie chart for a time series. You don't want that. So we also explain that the same way that, for example, as I told you, we're working with marketing. YouTube should be red, Meta should be blue, TikTok should be black, and stuff like that. So the process, how it works. As I said, someone says, I need a dashboard. So they will give us the basic information that they want. How is it going there? this reads our chart guide, the one that we built prompt in, then the dashboard guide, same one we did prompt in, and then it goes to the semantic layer and to some of domain files. In those domain files, we are explaining what the business is, what is JustWatch media, what's this JustWatch the streaming guide, and stuff like that. And then after that, the Lightdash generator creates the YAML files because Lightdash has, correct me if I'm wrong, please, all the charts and dashboards in YAML. And then we automated, validated, and ensured that all the metrics exist. And after that, it uploads everything by itself to Lightdash, generates the URL for us, giving us the dashboard, and then pretty easy. So I'm going to show you a conversation that I have with Cloud the other day. It's like I was working with a colleague. It's like, okay, let me create a dashboard for you. It's like, okay, I want to know, this is Monday's morning. I want to know how the internal website that we have, how many page views do we have, who is visiting which section, who is our most power user, and stuff like that. And I want to see it like from the last week. So this is like the brief conversation that I have with Claude. So you can see it's like, yeah, create a morning review dashboard, blah, blah, blah. This is the requirements. I want 2 tabs, the page views and the errors. I want the 7 completed days filter. And something that I want is like, okay, apply to all the charts that set the big numbers, whatever. And then the agent replied to me, okay, I'm going to use Lightdash generator. Is that okay? Cool. Do you want the charts to be stored within the dashboard, outside the dashboard? I said, I want them inside. I don't want too many charts around. It's like, and what do you want to save it? I said, Paula, my personal space, and there it goes. It created all the charts for us, and then it gave me like, okay, this is how I filter the data. It's complete, it's a Lightdash, and there's your link. And here's the dashboard. It's not the perfect dashboard, but it took us 5 minutes, and it was from scratch. Also, it needs some touch-ins, but basically it's like pretty fast thing that maybe my developer colleague will take 30, 40 minutes, maybe asking me, Paula, where's this metric? Where's the page views? What is this? So pretty efficient. And this is another example. It's also 95% done with AI that Sasha, the project that Sasha was talking about. This is the dashboard for it. Again, most of it, I mean, not the colors and some stuff, but most of it was done with Lightdash generator. So here's where we are today. Currently, we have the Lightdash generator working specifically for Lightdash and Claude, but we wanted to make it for every agent, not only Anthropic. And we also wanted to make it extendable to Hex. But we realized that this can be extendable to any tool that uses dashboard as code. And again, this is an MVP. I'm pretty sure we're going to change this entirely by the end of the year. So other things that every data team has to resolve a lot is the add of request. So this is where I present to you Novi. Novi is the name that we gave to our Light dashboard. It's so cute. It's integrated in Slack because, again, as I said, Slack is our main tool, is where everything is. And it's, as Hamza already explained, we've been working with this for already a year, and it's pretty simple. You ask in Slack, you tag Novi, and then it will give you an answer. You can interact in the threads, and it works amazingly. It's conversational, no KPIs understanding, no SQL, no technical knowledge. So imagine that you have a new colleague in the company, and he doesn't understand what a page view, what a click-through. He doesn't understand how to start dashboarding. So this is like a really nice entry point for it. So this is an example. For example, here I asked how many campaigns we've run in Spain last week, and you can see Novi replies, it gives me the answer, but also just like you can explore in Lightdash, it will open the chart for you. You can also tell if it gives you the right answer or not, and also you can keep interacting with it. Yeah, here, for example, I asked for definitions, and as we have all the definitions in the semantic layer, it provides us like, okay, this is a page view, and this is a click-through. And then you can keep asking questions. And yeah, all of this is thanks to Lightdash. Also, another thing that is available is the Lidas MCP, but this is only for tech users because, yeah, it's more technical sometimes. And for example, here what I asked from Cloud AI, I asked how many the evolution of our users in Lidas month over month, and it queried the Lidas API directly. And I think it's done for me.
Thanks. So demos are done, and now actually the prerequisites, how this all works and based on top of what. And there is a bit of secret here, but before we go into that, I want to explain a bit of challenge. So why there is not so much you can probably find online about data in AI projects and breakthroughs? Because data always adds complexity. So the good analogy here is DBT itself. So DBT introduced some good and best practices from software engineering into data orchestration stuff, engineering, right? So like data tests, CI/CD, agnostic to the data warehouse, but this came kind of almost like a decade after you always had it in software engineering, because data adds complexity. And why? Let's compare data project to classical software engineering project. So in a service, like let's say you have an app, your current logic is what you care about. You don't really care that much what was before. So what you have right now, that's it. That's not the case for data, because you have a state. You have a data that sits outside, ideally not in your repository. If you do it, it's not right. But you do care, most of the cases, what was before. So let's say you have some tracking about some feature and it's evolving. You cannot just say, well, that's a new one. Let's just report it from now on. What about the years before? That's important. Okay, maybe not fully the same level of details, but still important. So you cannot just neglect that. And there are quite often like years of layered decisions about why things were developed this way. And you cannot just neglect that. And obviously, if you change something, like quite often there are a lot of downstream dependencies. They're not always even living inside your repository. Let's say you have some reports and hacks and Lidash. I mean, you can build a connection, but things can break. So this always adds a complexity. And data itself is also a huge variable because, well, you can write the perfect model, which like in vacuum works nicely when the data is good, but data can be messy. There could be bugs, right, introduced, like there could be noise. Let's say if you deal with real-time data coming to you through web, there are a lot of ad blockers, they can mess up with the events that are arriving. So this is not going to be able to deploy to production. So this also adds complexity to your data projects. That's why when you actually want to work with AI on data projects, you need to care more just with your code what you have in the repository. You need to actually give all those insights that you are having in your head as data analysts. And that's basically the secret. There are two things. First one, as boring as it says, the context management, basically documentation. So you're probably already doing this if you work in software engineering, but in data, at least for us, we took it next level. In our DBT repository, as already mentioned, we had like 25 different business domains, okay? And they have a lot of domain knowledge, specificities, like really a lot of terminology, a lot of, I don't know, like KPIs, like Paula was mentioning, views, video views, and they're different for different platforms. Let's say you have a streaming stuff, or you have like, okay, this is like TVOD, this is a AVOD, they have different definitions, but in the end, you need to combine them. They have a different vendors, they have a different tracking. This all lives there. And so far, I mean, mostly you have it in your head over the years, so maybe I remember some stuff, maybe I don't. You need to go in the Slack, some documentations, ideally, if you can find it. But essentially, that's very difficult to keep up. And especially imagine you have a very smart, brilliant new hire, super senior, and you want them to be efficient. And it's just like, yeah, this is a code, make some feature. It's not going to work. Because they're going to spend like weeks, months explaining, okay, well, this is doing this because of 3 years ago we had to do that, right? So you're doing this. And obviously, it doesn't matter how efficient, how expert is the person, you spend time on onboarding the person in your team. It's basically the same stuff you're doing here with the AI. You're onboarding your agent with all the context. But you do it by preserving all this context inside the repository in our case. So as I said, we have 25 domains, and what we're doing, for each of those domains, we have 3 files developed, they're pretty agnostic to AI. One of them is, as you can see, domain MD. It's a super rich context file designed actually for humans to read. There is an AI version, super condensed, token efficient, and there is a release notes. So how we were doing this, basically I forced everyone in the team that didn't like it for several weeks, basically we split the domains, and like, yeah, for 2 weeks, we just documented the stuff. So I had to find all the documents, all the Slack conversations, if there were any. If not, I was just sitting on the couch and basically talking to my laptop like an idiot, explaining all my history knowledge from the past years. And that's basically in the end was documenting all the stuff in the repository. And now only by doing this, you can already do this consultation that Paula was showing, right? Because AI is reading this domain documentation from the files itself. So what's inside? Basically all those business decisions, why it was happening. Because when you see the code, you have no idea why this was happening. You just see how it's done, but quite often you don't know why. Okay. Next phase is specification-driven development approach. You probably also heard about this. It's like all over the place in the AI world. I kind of came to this myself, and then I discovered it's actually a big thing. So by the moment I discovered this thing, I already built a framework that actually helps you to develop your specifications, structure them into pieces. But then I figured out there are several frameworks already available. So what this one is about is basically nothing new, really. It's how project managers, architects are used to work like for decades already. You basically collecting all the inputs you want, requirements, record them somehow. Then you think for a long time, I don't know, Google how to do things, right? So design it, and then basically split into some actionable pieces, and you go and develop. That's basically how it's usually done. Same stuff here. You collect the requirements, you write specifications, you create the tasks, and then execute them one by one. The cool part about this could be all done in a matter of like hours, not weeks. And I'll show you like some of the examples how I'm actually kicking this off. So as I said, there are several already available, pretty mature projects for like open source projects to facilitate this specification-driven development approach. So you don't need to really prompt it always the same. It's always going to be like pretty detailed and done for you. We tried several, and as I said, I actually tried to write myself, which is kind of worked, but I didn't want to maintain it. And in the end, I went for this Agent2S framework from Builder Methods. You can go check it out. It's also easily customizable, so we added some stuff on top of that. Like, for example, self-documenting, which is important because let's say you spend those few weeks documenting the stuff for domains, nice, but what happens in a year? It's outdated. So I made as a requirement for each feature we're developing, in the end, we call this extra step that we defined. Basically is looking at your specification that you just developed and figure out if there is anything that you really need to add to the context of your domain. Because you're developing new stuff, it's here, you already know all the details. Let's figure out if it makes sense to add it to the main documentation of the domain. And if it's even not really like that much, it still ends up in the release notes. So why this is cool? Because actually it preserves all your decisions that you went through while designing the features in repository as files. Those are the files. So again, when you have a code, you know how, but you know why, you don't know what exactly. With all this stuff, if you actually keep doing this systematically, you have all the history about how you get there. And imagine the scenario, let's say like in a year, there is a new framework that's doing something that you couldn't do before. And you want, okay, cool. Do I have some features that already exist that I can do better now? And you have it already documented. You have all the decisions from a year ago. You just go and say, like, try again, but with a different framework. You don't need to over-explain it again. All right. So those are real examples how I right now starting the conversations with specifications. Those are just Slack threads. So basically, I'm dumping all the information I have, let's say, on left one. There was a building a new domain, right? We have like 3 or 4 different onboarding sessions, kickoffs with different team leads, with the business, with the technical. We were transcribing this. We took the transcriptions, fit it here. We got the documents that are available, some meeting notes that are available, mockups if they are, and then fit it there. And then you start actually engaging with the interview. It asks you questions how I understood it. You ask it questions how you like want it to work, and then in the end it documents it all like as I described, with all those domain documentation files. And then later you you split into tasks, and then you can give to different team members even. And the cool part about that, you actually don't really quite often you can run them in parallel again. So as I said, those development sessions when you execute a task, you can actually get to that phase multiple times for different tasks throughout the week, and then like preserve like half a day, let's say. And then you crush them all those 10 different specifications in one session. If you made your preparation and made your homework very well before that. So immediate benefits just by writing the documentation for the context. My team is still kind of having this habit, like ask Sasha, like, yeah, maybe he knows. And a few times already, like, did you ask actually AI? And they did not, because they had this habit, and now they actually do ask it first. And if they cannot find the answer, they ask me. That's also a signal for me. This is under-documented. I need to go, not answer them. I need to go and answer actually to repository, commit it, and then, okay, try ask again. That's a thing, right? Maybe it's a bit of overkill right now, but eventually over time it's going to really pay back. So imagine you have a new colleague joining. We can do it like in, I mean, we don't really need to like babysit and like handhold. They can just talk about particular things. We can give, okay, like your areas, this, go read it up. You don't understand something, ask back. So it's going to be much efficient. They're going to be independent for that. And as Paula showed already, you can also apply it to some external stakeholders because they're quite often having some questions that you know, they don't. And then basically you can answer them by not even engaging with them directly. Yeah, as I already mentioned, every decision has a why, which is important because quite often in Codebase you don't know it. And as also already mentioned here, it's, you can revisit the project anytime, which is super cool. And like I'm definitely waiting for some new stuff to be developed in the data area, and we can track. We can really crash some models that we just developed right now with a new approach. Let's say like I don't know stuff like release new SQL whatever function that's doing stuff more efficient that we have right now. We can go and redevelop it. And if you really want to get back to the project that you just dropped or paused half a year ago, it's also efficient because you just go and tell, okay, update me on all the developments, where we were, what's next. Yeah, and obviously, if you basically doing it well, you spend some time on specifications, in the end, the quality of that work, when you review that, when you bypassing your like sniff tests and your design test, you have to also still like take responsibility for this. It's very important, but in the end, you can, if you do it properly, the quality is going to be higher. So like one example, I was asked to develop some particular alert, and in the end, in the same time I was usually doing this, I made actually 5, because actually it suggested me those, and they were logical. I'm like, okay, that's actually nice. And they also made the message itself formatting well. So I spent the same time as before. I delivered the alert that I was asked to, but on top of that, proactively I developed some other stuff because it was actually no real other time for me to do. Yeah. And the most probably, like the biggest discovery for me personally, that's actually, like, I don't know, like how it's for you, but I always hated to do the documentation. And now it's actually fun. So yeah, as here, AI made it enjoyable and benefits appeared immediately. Thank you.
Okay, I think there are some questions. Sasha will go reply to the repo, and then we can. Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. My question is about product analytics. And I was wondering, how close is your team to the tracking infrastructure, the tracking plan? Can you change it? Are you involved when there is the instrumentation of your web and app?
So at JustWatch, BI is actually a gatekeeper for all the tracking definitions that happen on the platform. So we use a snowplow framework, and basically we are the ones like define, okay, yeah, this is new feature development. We are providing specifications. Why? Well, because in the end, we need to actually know what to expect and to give the insight. So yeah, so we are pretty close because we own it.
Yeah, a follow-up question. Is the semantic layer also useful for having a tracking plan that is filling the requirements faster?
So one of the projects I actually did not show, but it's one of actually we are making. It's exactly streamlining everything about specifications of the tracking. So we have this huge spreadsheet, right, which we maintain manually over years. Why spreadsheet? Because actually sometimes you need to still communicate to outsiders, like developers, right? So they don't want to go into SQL, they don't always read that. And the idea of that particular project was actually they can go to our BI bot, give me specifications for this particular feature. If it exists, it actually extracts the up-to-date state, create a small spreadsheet again, the basic template, give it them. We still like watching it. If it's good enough, they can actually suggest changes right in this particular spreadsheet. If we verify that all good, we can actually feed it back. That's one of the projects we didn't show because kind of, yeah, it's probably going to be the second layer of projects we're going to be doing. Yeah. So semantic layer, We do obviously have a product analytics explorers based on the data, but they mostly kind of still like KPI based. So let's say you have a very detailed tracking about your streams, right? We have like right now doing the streams as well. So every 3 seconds you have like a point that there is like segment watched, change of the resolution and stuff, like ads shown and stuff. You don't show those events. You show like how many ads were done. So there is still like aggregation and some modeling happening. There is Explorer that you can go and just query all the snowplow events if you want to. I mean, if you really want to, and you won't know what you're querying. But there is right now, at least LiDAR, they don't really have access to the documentation about the tracking. But as I said, we have in this project that I think actually eventually we're gonna also expose it there.
This is a classic, not a question, but a comment. I wanted to say, you know, another big benefit of having all that institutional knowledge built into this chat interface for new onboarders. Not only does it help those onboarders, but like I'm finding that people are going to ask some chatbot why code looks the way it does. They're going to open up your code and say, why does it look this way? And it's going to give them an answer. It might as well be, you know, the correct answer, right? Like with the work you're doing with that foundational stuff and capturing decision making, you're offering what's increasingly like a preferred way for people to get to know code. You're offering one with some guardrails, right? Like that it's not just going to make up some bullshit about why the code is the way it is. You actually have an authoritative source. So I think that will actually pay dividends more and more as time goes on, and you have new, younger developers who that's their first instinct is to go to a chat interface to ask about something. I think you'll see huge, you know, payoffs compounding.
Yeah, as I said, like those things we show today will develop a matter of weeks. So by the end of the year, we're gonna finish those projects, and we already have several like in the backlog. One of the things actually, it kind of already suggested this. That was dangerous. It's actually making PR already directly from the Slack when they say, okay, this is actually the bad alert. Let's actually disable it and suggest the PR. Well, we not really feel comfortable for this yet, but eventually, definitely. So LiDAR, again, agent basically semantic and data and KPIs, but all this like generic agent that we develop right now, it has access to our code base, right, for read only, right? So it's basically GitHub MCP, just read the files on the go. And there are obviously instructions what you do. So actually one of the other things that we also have another project, it's not for BI, it's for the company in general. So this context discovery, if you think about this, you can apply the same approach to all the repositories, not really necessarily BI, and then you can ask any questions about anything in your company. Front end, back end, doesn't matter. And then it's like, okay, there's going to be some references, entry point, which also could be automatically collected from all the repositories, right? So this is here, this is here, this is here. You can navigate to repositories and read it out. So basically you can ask any technical questions, not only BI. And this is also going to be pushed into other teams soon. Here, Alex, I don't know if he's here, like, yeah, he's listening.
Thank you. Thank you for the nice presentation, and I congratulate the team in thinking futuristic. Thanks for also selecting such advanced tools already, which is making this happen so quickly, right? So in the right time. My questions are twofold. One is you mentioned that for developing a new project, you're introducing or a kind of enforcing teams to development teams or product teams to start with a specification driven. So are you managing some kind of template specification for different projects? Because that's where the game changes if the specifications are defined differently for each of similar use cases, I will say.
So we using this framework that actually kind of unifies the approach of coming with two specifications, right? So you have like requirements, you have specification file, and like you have a tasks. It's like coming with agent.os. We have also spec it from GitHub is doing a bit differently, but kind of the same. There is no like really template how you define like each specification for each particular project. So I don't not enforce it. Actually, maybe like good question for Paula, because she was the one that I had to push to do that, and she was like really first-hand experiencing this learning curve and how actually it's really get into action?
Actually, we are doing it completely different. So he prepares the requirements on a way, I do it in another way. Sometimes I copy paste them things from the users. Sometimes I write something super simple, and then thanks to the framework, it iterates. It asks me questions like, no, I don't want this. And then sometimes, for example, I know this query is this way. So instead of asking the AI to look for, it's like, I want this, do the joins in this, and it's pretty useful. I have to say that even if it wasn't forced, it was like really, really useful. And I myself not coding that much either lately.
And the second one is, how do you manage this why into the metadata? You writing how-tos are very simple. Code can extract the documentation, how it is done, what has to be done, of course, from the specification, but why there are some design decisions, or do you have a template or metadata structure for
So we don't really have a template. You basically still review all the things documented for you, right? You really have to do that. And if you don't do it all on behalf of the cases and correcting, you're probably doing something wrong. You really have to. I'm pretty happy the way it's basically, I mean, at least Sonnet for now, doing this. Why? If you tell it why, it will record it, and it's going to be just basically as an artifact, maybe not for the domain itself, if it's like not super crucial, but at least in the release notes, right? Because all those things you develop, specifications, tasks, like implementation plans, validation plans, they still live in the repository. You can find it. Then agents, they're also good into like finding Git history. In Git history, you have also like Git names, whatever. You can find easily where it's coming from. It's like doing super fast. So actually, like I didn't also show it here, but like data exploration itself, I was like when I was building this dashboard that Paula was showing, I was using the generator from her, but I didn't just tell what I want to build. I also told it, okay, those are the models, those are the questions. Go query those questions beforehand. Know the answers, know the numbers, build the dashboards, open it dynamically in Cursor, all those charts. Compare not only that build that stuff, but the figures also matching. So I actually took it like next level, and afterwards I actually found some issues, right? I had to correct a little bit. But yeah, this is basically like really, as I said, like 10% of time I'm writing this for fun, and it's actually true for fun because I'm missing it sometimes. Like just today was a bug. Like, okay, this figure looks wrong. And like I was actually busy in the calls, and I just like on the side, like I just posted it, and like while I was like talking, I actually already found the answer in 2 minutes, and already on the call already presented it. I mean, took a look. It's actually was correct.
Yeah, thanks to the AI first approach, I think that's helping. Yeah.
Well, AI curated approach. You still have to like really review that stuff.
Hi, I really like your text-based presentation.
I also like it. It's now it's efficient. I really didn't spend time like in making those icons and like dragging them and coming up because actually it's a text.
How did you do it? Or did you use a specific tool?
I use not Claude in this case, but like I was talking to it. Like so, by the way, the whole presentation was also specification, right? I went for the specification with the task and developed. All the chapters are done like this, and then there was validation. So actually, I was yeah, and then it produced me. I mean, I could probably even show it to you if you want, but it's actually those are just Markdown files. I copy the text and paste in a Google slide. It's like Courier New. It's a text box. You just paste the text and it's actually formatted nicely. I mean, I applied some colors and bolds because you cannot have it in Markdown, but essentially, yes, that stuff.
Nice.
I was cheating a little bit here.
I was thinking it's pretty impressive what you can do like with this AI first kind of infrastructure design. And I was thinking like it's solving a really good problem, which is like institutional knowledge and institutional memory and how that just disappears over time, especially when you have very high turnovers in these tech companies. And you're making a kind of, it's almost like an ethnographer of the local institutional knowledge of your workplace. And that's really smart. I really like that.
It was hard at the beginning because first of all, I had to do it myself. I actually like caved in for several weekends.
Yeah.
I mean, I was able to because the kids were like not with me. So I really like, and that was also engaging because the documentation was really fun. And I had so much in my head, I really had to offload to somewhere. And I finally found the way.
Yeah.
And then I kind of asked the team and they're like, okay, so we have 25, Dima, you do this, 3, Paula, you do that. And we spent time on this several weeks. If you do it right, then you can really leverage all that.
Yeah. Like, I really like doing documentation, but I'm realizing that's quite rare. It's quite unusual, actually.
I'm not liking doing documentation. I hate that stuff. I always was saying, because DBT, like before that, we didn't do that much. Like code is your documentation. If you don't know how to read this SQL, learn SQL. That's our way of calculating stuff, right? And now it's actually, now it's mandatory. Now it's easy to do. And as I said, it's automated because we develop. It's also update documentation on the way. This is key. In the end, it's like really adding this to the context.
But my question is, did you have a legacy infrastructure to begin with, or were you creating this completely from scratch? We
had like 1,600 models in repository with a lot of historical baggage, as you see. The DBT float thing, how many actually we had like outdated. There were there are several folders with the tens of models inside for the things we were reporting like 3 years ago. They're not relevant anymore. But because we're always about like, okay, building new stuff, shipping new stuff, maybe they don't even execute, who knows? But like, why do you have them in repository? And like this, like scanner found them and like kill them. Okay, fine, we don't need to document them stuff. And now like we have this new domain developed. I really spent like, I don't know, half an hour like collecting all the things in all the threads documents, talking to it. And then now we have actually, I can tell like, I don't know, Susanna, this is documentation here, build your model.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks again for amazing presentation. First of all, kudos for I think we all seen all this dooming news about, oh, we have an AI and nobody's hiring, but as we see, they're hiring. That's a kind of controversial signal that you can receive only in such sessions. But my question is more related for the underlying thing. So you have now like a much better leverage on the things, yeah, but probably you had some kind of agile ceremonies or some kind of frameworks you were using for development. How did it change for you, like for a bigger company, for the planning, for, I don't know, backlogs or something like that?
Not clear yet because it's a few weeks in and it's really changing much. Like, it's very impressive. Not all the teams are like same advanced, even software engineer, but they are also getting there. Like I know like one of the market, like they have like really big advocates. Some people are just really great in experimenting with new tools and they really progressing there. You can see that. Like I was still trying to figure out. So like my team can definitely be more productive. As always, like you spend more time on fun stuff, like, talking about projects, like designing them, code review. It's actually also interesting effect. Like when you code review stuff, like code of the agent, like whenever someone else showing you the code, you see issues right away because you didn't write it. Same stuff here, right? Like you see the issues right away. And it's more efficient even because, that's a fresh one. About the hiring stuff. Company is definitely hiring right now. For the data team, actually we're not hiring because we're trying to figure out the way to kind of reshape the operations, and we definitely want to scale the productivity of the team, right? So, but I want them to spend less time on low-level coding. Not that it's not cool, because you still need to be able to read that code. But right now we're trying to figure out how to really apply it and be more efficient.
Okay, and just another one. Do you use anything for the forecasting? Like maybe you kind of utilize the current data or something like that for developing of the new features or something like that?
For forecasting, you mean data forecasting?
Yeah.
I would not say that. I mean, there are some questions that we're going to be tackling for sure. I mean, we have Nora, she's here, she's our data scientist in the company. I would definitely need to consult with her. So we're not going to use her to code, but definitely the approach have to be sane, right? So you still need to go like through the human, if it's like okay or not.
Have enough things to do now, yeah.
And last question.
Maybe one and a half, if I may. Thank you for the presentation, great talk, and great call on the stateful aspect of the data transformations. I'm very much, and thanks for sharing the builder methods, the repository. Like, I'll make sure to check this out. I'm curious about this, the context management. So, I mean, I would assume this is similar to like a bunch of like MCP, like domain-specific MCP servers, like with some rules and memories. Like I've been playing around with the MCP servers, and I'm very much curious. How do you, like known data quirks? How do you like write down all this history? Like, how do you tell your agent, okay, this decision was a bullshit. This PR was wrong. Like, would you literally store all the history of the communications and Slack threads PRs? Like, would you vectorize it and somehow, like, how would you say, like, an agent, like, this is the right decision and this is wrong? And how would you prevent your agent from like hallucinating? I mean, not hallucinating, but actually using the bad data from the history.
So there are like several sources for the context, right? So the first one is Git history for sure. You still have it. And obviously you don't need to write yourself. You need to document what's happening. And agents are really good in reading that. Second, as I explained, those domain documentations. So this is like this domain MD and domain AI is current state of the domain. It doesn't have really a history because like we want to onboard when we want to develop, it's like current state. Domain release notes is like what happened when. This also nicely connects to the artifacts from the specification development because those things like specifications, decisions, validations, they still live inside your repository. They're not part of the domain documentation. So whenever you need to, they are available and they can easily find them from the Git history, from the domain release notes. You can find those folders, you can find out the reason if you need to go. You look at the code, okay, why this is like that? You can find the Git history of the line. Okay, this is the ticket, the specification, and there is a reason why. So those like specific feature documentations, they are pretty rich, but they're not loaded automatically, only when you need them.
I see. Okay, thank you. And second question, like we don't have to go to detail, just like very curious, like in few sentences about this, like Claude bot AI agent. How does it work? I mean, like it sounds like a way too good to be true. Because I mean, I would know it. Like, is it like some kind of like microservice with API? It has to send like an API call, write a query. I don't know, like talk with the like other different APIs. GitHub Dima probably, yeah. Sasha is looking at you. So I'm curious, how does it work? A few sentences, please.
Yeah, it's a Cloud Code CLI under the hood. So with several MCPs. So it has connection to GitHub, to Snowflake, to our Composer, to Airflow, to read logs and investigate it, to anything you want.
So it is actually like quite fast.
So it's not so fast. So it takes several seconds or minutes to make a response. So it is a complicated request. It could take maybe 5 minutes to digest it, practice different tools and collect all the stuff.
Understood. Thank you so much. Thank you.